your experience of what we would call shamanism. So you mentioned psilocybin. You know, your experience of not only plant medicines, but there must have been other practices, whether they be rattling, drumming, chanting, smoking various herbs, shamanic practices. What have those harmonized you to nature? Have they enhanced your intuition? Have they brought you into a more intimate relationship with life, plants, the energies of the sun, the moon, the stars, and the things that ultimately are creating everything? Is that, I'm saying, is that for you what made the difference between you being a pharmacist and a shaman pharmacist? Mm-hmm. Because those are obviously things that aren't typical in a pharmacist training.
Yes.
I'm just curious to hear from you, what happened through your shamanic work inside of you that makes you the guy you are sitting in front of me, not the pharmacist that graduated after a lot of training?
Yeah, there's definitely been a lot of shifts and changes. I'm someone who very rarely chooses to put something synthetic into my body, because I feel that nature provides everything that we need, and that there's very deep, profound information provided by Mother Nature from hundreds of thousands of years of existence on this planet through constant evolution.
Yeah.
And with all the teachings and the experiences that I've had in sitting in ceremony with indigenous elders, and having experiences with different sound tools, and really tuning in with the vibration of nature, I've found more inner peace in my body. And I recognize that we need to really look at the whole systems. Yes. Of plants and of nature and of humanity and of minerals, and everything seems to have consciousness.
It does, yeah, I agree.
One way of saying that is everything is God.
Yeah, it is. The first principle of Sufism, there is no God but God. I worship everything and everyone. And if you study alchemy, and you're an alchemist, the alchemists basically believe that consciousness was infused in matter, and the spiritual practice of alchemy is to extract the consciousness from the matter. They often refer to it as the dragon, right? Mm-hmm. And to bring that, we all think of ourselves as a body, right? My body, my shoulder, my neck, but most people don't think of themselves beyond the body. But if you study shamanic traditions, if you study the core of most of the religious traditions, especially the mystical branches, many of which were using psychedelics and do. Sorry, some of you won't like that, but it's true. I have many books documenting that. They were really bringing consciousness out of matter. In other words, like you said, everything has consciousness in it. If everything's energy and information, then something has to direct the flow of energy and the structure of the information, right? Mm-hmm. There's a reason trees are trees and flowers are flowers and cows are cows. Somebody once said, thinking that this all happened by accident, like the scientific materialists do, would be like thinking you could throw a hand grenade in a print shop and a Bible would jump out the back. But anyhow, I was just curious because it's clear and evident to me that your field is clean and clear, and your energy is centered, and your mind is focused, and your heart is big, and you're committed to doing good things for people. And that's not, well, I wouldn't say it's I wouldn't say there's no pharmacists out there like that. I would just say it's not ordinary. Like, it's not ordinary for a medical doctor, and it's not ordinary for most people unless they've had some spiritual development and done some real healing. And so I just thought it was one of the things I find unique about you is that you're able to marry the knowledge of a pharmacist with the wisdom and the life experience and the openness and the sincerity of a shaman. And I wanted to share that with people because I think if they understand that this is the person creating these products, for those of us that already have a sense of appreciation for nature and traditional societies and cultures and sustainable practices, it's much more exciting to be. I personally would be, if there was an interview going on between 5 essential oil manufacturers and one of them was you, I'd be right away going, okay, I got to try this guy's oils because I know what's happened to me through my own shamanic evolution and work as a medicine man and a spirit guide and spending 15 years studying and practicing and growing. And so I think that's a beautiful element. Would you mind sharing, to the best of your ability, how essential oils work in the body, both physically and energetically? I've read a lot of different things and there's a lot of different opinions out there. But when someone takes an essential oil, what are some of the things that are happening that make it work as a therapeutic agent?
Yeah. So essential oils are really powerful. They contain alcohols, esters, ketones, aldehydes, different sesquiterpenes, all of these different constituents which have both aromatic properties, flavor profile properties, and pharmacological activity. So what most people don't know is essential oils are very different than a synthetic fragrance. It's not just that aromatherapy provided by essential oils smell good. It's that these are literally geometric molecules which have pharmacological activity in the human body. And so what's interesting is lots of times there's almost a general understanding that different types of aromatic molecules may lean towards a different type of specific therapeutic outcome. So let me give an example.
Can you highlight one thing for us? Because
yeah.
I don't think many people are going to understand the concept of a geometric molecule. What specifically do you mean? What's the difference between a geometric molecule and one that maybe isn't a geometric molecule, if there is such a thing?
Cool. So, I'm talking about the functional group of a molecule, which is, I'm talking about the shapes of molecules, which all molecules are going to inherently have geometry, have shapes.
So they might be octagonal, or what is
or
that?
hexagonal,
or hexagonal,
or they may have a benzene ring, 6-carbon ring. And so what I'm referring to is that the actual shape of the molecule seems to show trends of how therapeutically they may work in a majority of human beings.
Would that have any relationship to receptor sites on cells, such as hormone receptor sites? In other words,
Absolutely.
Is there a geometrical relationship?
Absolutely.
So yeah, that would be an important component then.
Yeah. And so, take the functional group phenol. Phenols are said to be slightly irritating to mucosa. A great example of a phenol is carvacrol. Carvacrol is found in abundance in oregano.
Which I use a lot of.
Right. So, carvacrol is really interesting because, when I was first studying about essential oils, I hopped on PubMed and I was looking up carvacrol and oil of oregano. And what I found was that carvacrol was extremely effective at a very low minimum inhibitory concentration at inhibiting methicillin-resistant Staph aureus, better known as MRSA for most people. And that
it's a bitch of an infection.
It's a total bitch of an infection, and also has a lot of challenges being treated in medical hospitals due to all the antibiotic resistance. And so what my research found was that carvacrol was extremely effective at dealing with MRSA. And when I was ending pharmacy school, I ended up having respiratory infections every winter for 3 years. The first 2 years, I used antibiotics to treat it. The third year, after reading this article, I had chosen not to go see a doctor and was hoping that the symptoms would resolve, and I kept getting worse and worse. There was a day that I remember where I looked over and I saw my essential oil vaporizer, and right next to it I saw that I had a bottle of oil of oregano. And I knew that oregano is quite caustic and irritating to the skin. And in my awareness at that time, I said, okay, I'm having immense difficulty breathing. I feel like I'm going to die. And so even though I know that this oil of oregano is extremely irritating, I also know that it is highly likely it can kill whatever is growing in my lungs. So what I did was I took a drop of oil of oregano, I put it into my essential oil vaporizer, I heated it up, I took a deep inhalation in, and immediately started coughing. I was coughing, my eyes were watering, and I was coughing for probably about 2 to 5 minutes. I was spitting up all this green and yellow sputum. And after my coughing bout, I literally felt better and more clear and like I could breathe more effectively.
Yeah.
So I repeated that process. I did it 3 times in that experience, and I did it 3 times. I believe I did it 3 times the first day and twice the second day. And by the end of that 48-hour period, I was about 60 to 70% back to my baseline in terms of my ability to breathe, compared to about 40 to 60% back to my baseline in 5 to 7 days compared to prior years using traditional antibiotics. And so
and the oregano won't kill the mitochondria in your cells and all the other nasty stuff antibiotics do.
And also the oil of oregano, it has different chemical constituents which work synergistically, and so antibiotic, the bugs are not going to become antibiotic resistant in the same way that they are with single pharmaceutical drug antibiotics.
Yeah. You mean because there's too many? It's a barrage of chemicals. It's like a bouquet of chemicals versus an arrow.
Exactly.
In other words, you're surrounded by. There's too many inputs for them to easily adapt to.
Exactly. That's a great way of.
And that's the thing too with a kind of a way of relating to that concept that comes to my mind is if you play a handmade Tibetan bowl, oftentimes they're made out of 5 different metals. So they have a lot of overtones, right? But if you get one of the, you've ever seen the quartz bowls, the white quartz bowls? They're like tuning forks.
Yeah.
And sometimes the frequencies are so pure, they're almost a bit stressful to the body comparatively. So a synthetic drug is really like a tuning fork, a very tight, narrow frequency, but almost everything in nature has all these overtones. It's almost like a community holding hands to accomplish something as opposed to a one-man army.
I like that analogy. Absolutely.